Good morning. Happy New Year. Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're in 2026. I have to still remember whenever I'm writing things down, I keep writing 2025, but I have to remember that now we're in 2026. So it's good to see you in the new year. It's a nice cold day. I think this last day or two has been the coldest so far this winter. Although I heard the Central Weather Bureau said that this winter is supposed to be average to warmer than normal. So we'll see. I felt like last winter was a really long, cold winter a year ago, but hopefully this year is not as cold. So yeah, we'll see. But I always feel a bit of regret in March or April when the last cold weather disappears, because I know then it will be very hot. But I do, I tell you this many times, I prefer warmer weather to colder weather. So yeah, but anyhow, we should enjoy it while we have it. Okay, good. Well, anyhow, I thought I would start with a big story. I'm sure I know that in Taiwan everyone's been following this, so I thought this would be a good article to start with and look at this subject. So, obviously we know what happened in Venezuela. And so here the headline says, world leaders mixed over Maduro's capture. Okay, now when you say mixed, it's actually, what they're actually trying to say here is there should be or mixed feelings, okay? So that word mixed feelings is very common. I think we've talked about this before, but if someone asks for your opinion, right? If they say, what do you think of that movie, okay? And you say, well, I have mixed feelings about it. Or what do you think of this idea, this plan? And someone says, well, I have mixed feelings. What does that mean? Yeah, it means I don't have a strong opinion. It's not like one strong, it's a variety of feelings about it. So it might be, yeah, like you said, good and bad. It might be there's some positives, but there's also some negatives, So, if someone says, well, I have this idea, what do you think? And you say, well, I have mixed feelings. On one hand, this is good, I agree with this. On the other hand, I disagree with this. Yeah, although mixed blessing is a different, obviously that's not your feeling. Mixed blessing is something you receive. So a mixed blessing would be, sometimes when something good, something happens and you think, well, that is a mixed blessing. It means that there may be some good things about it and there may be some bad things about it. So he just used the word mixed blessing. Blessings, usually blessings. What is a blessing? Yeah, it's something you've been blessed with, something that's good that's been given to you. But a mixed blessing means that there might be some good things or not so good things about it. Like, someone might say, well, having a birthday is a mixed blessing because on one hand, it's happy, but on the other hand, you're getting older, right? So, yeah, that's a mixed blessing. So why don't we say it together, mixed blessing. Mixed blessings. And then this one, mixed feelings. Mixed feelings. Right. So here we have world leaders have mixed feelings over Maduro's capture. Okay, so this is, and then it says here, China among nations to condemn U.S. actions. Now, of course, we've talked about the word condemn means to say something is wrong, right? If you condemn someone's actions, it means you're declaring that their actions are not correct or not right. Now, of course, we can be condemned and other things. If the court judges somebody, condemns them to death or condemns them to life in prison, it means the court, it's like 判决, right? It's like to say, you must do this. You must spend your life in prison or you are condemned to death. So that's another way of using the word condemned. It kind of means sentence, but here, of course, it doesn't mean sentence. Here it means to say something is wrong, to declare something is wrong. So anyhow, so why don't we say this? It was funny. I was trying to learn this in Chinese. I saw it online, but I was like, Venezuela in Chinese because it's awkward for foreigner. It's wei na wei la, right? Okay. Wei na rei la. Wei na rei la. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all the foreigners are like, how do I say this in Chinese? Yeah, but let's learn it in this way. Let's say it Venezuela. Okay, so it has a U here, so it has kind of a W sound, like a W, wa sound. So Venezuela. Venezuela. Yeah, so it's a difficult name to say in English and Chinese. Okay, so it says here, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. Oh, sorry, that's a photo caption. So ignore this. This is from the photo. Okay, so here's where we want to start. The Trump administration's capture of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is getting mixed reviews on the world stage as country leaders start coming forward since the January 6th attack. Okay, so here's another way of saying it. We say mixed reviews. Okay, so what is a review? Yeah, what do we normally review? Like when you read the newspaper, a movie, right? A song, a performance, right? A play, right? You might have a review. So let's say there's a new movie that comes out, a new Hollywood movie, and it gets mixed reviews. Again, what does that mean?
Some good, some bad.
Yeah, some good, some bad. Some might say, oh, the movie is great, I loved it. And other people say, nah, I don't really think it's that great. Don't go watch it. Okay, so again, a review is, in Chinese, what is it? It's not ping, is it pinglun? Pinglun, yeah, pinglun. So why don't we say together, mixed reviews? Mixed reviews. So it says here is getting mixed reviews on the world stage. So it's kind of interesting that we often use that word when we say the world stage, it means across the world, right? It's almost like the stage, when you have a 表演 or performance, you have a stage, right? So if you say someone is now on the world stage, it means it's someone that's world famous. Everybody knows them. They can see them, right? So you could say now you are on the world stage. It means people can see you. The whole world sees you. Okay, so as country leaders start coming forward, it means they start speaking up. They start standing up and speaking up since the January 3 attack. Okay, so let's read this. The Trump administration's Okay, again, the Trump administration's capture of Venezuela's president. Okay, again, capture of Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, is getting mixed reviews. Mixed reviews on the world stage as country leaders start coming forward since the January 3 attack. Okay, now of course I think you all know, but just in case, you know what capture means, right? Capture means to capture something. Now, we can capture many things. Of course, here they capture their president, but we can capture a picture, right? If you take a picture with your camera or your phone, you say, I captured the picture. It means it's like you captured it. An image. You capture an image, capture a picture. There's many things you can capture, right? You can capture someone's attention, right? If you do something crazy, you might capture everyone's attention, right? It means sometimes we say to grab, G-R-A-B, to grab someone's attention, to capture their attention, okay, or simply to get someone's attention. Okay, so let's say that word again, capture. Capture. The T has a ch sound, so one more time, capture. Okay, so since he's captured the president, yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably more like arrest. Yeah. Well, so to apprehend is a term we use to apprehend means to capture. It's the same idea, but it's more like, to apprehend is more like the word arrest. Okay? So, often when you read the newspaper, you say the police apprehended the suspect. It means they captured him. They arrested him. They got him. Okay? But yeah, so they might use apprehend or arrest. So why don't we say together apprehend. Apprehend. Arrest. Arrest. Arrest is probably the most common word. You see this in the news every day. The police arrested somebody. Okay. So yeah, those are very common words. Okay, so let's go on. It says here, China was among several countries that condemned U.S. actions, though other nations responded with messages of support or appeared to struggle to find the right words to describe the unusual use of force against a sovereign country and its president. Okay, so again, here we have the word condemn. So they were among several countries that condemned U.S. actions, but other countries seemed to have supported it or appeared to struggle. Struggle means what? To have difficulty with something, right? We struggle with problems, we struggle with difficulties, we struggle with sickness. But here that says they tried to struggle with trying to find the right words, right? You're not quite sure what to say. Like, what do I say? Okay, so let's say together, struggle. Struggle. Now, struggle can be a 动词 or 名词, right? You can say, right now I'm having a big struggle with my landlord, my 房东, or I'm having a struggle with my work, So that can be a 名词. But you can say, I am struggling with something. Okay, so here they appear to struggle, okay, with this unusual use of force against a sovereign. Now, we talked about sovereign before. Sovereign means that you have control. It's like yours, right? So a sovereign country means, yeah, you have a sovereign, of course, most people think in Taiwan, say Taiwan is a sovereign nation or sovereign country, okay? And its president, okay? Of course, yeah. So, yeah. Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's other ways to use apprehend. Well, we can say someone is apprehensive. That's a 形容词. That means 紧张 or, 担心, right? If you say, I am apprehensive about my work, okay, apprehensive, it means I am worried. Fear, yeah, I'm fearful, I'm worried. But to use as a 动词, apprehend, at the moment, I can only think of it mainly means to capture somebody. I can't think of any other words that we would use. We don't use apprehend as broadly as we use the word capture. Capture is a very broad word. Like I said, we can capture many things, but apprehend is more specific. So yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this. China was among several countries that condemned U.S. actions, though other nations responded with messages of support or appeared to struggle to find the right words to describe the unusual use of force against a sovereign country and its president. Okay. Panama. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 2.0. 2.0. Yeah. No, when I saw this, the first thing I thought of was Panama and their president Noriega, who was also arrested but Noriega was arrested on drug charges too. So he was also accused of a very similar thing as Maduro's. Yeah, the U.S. didn't capture Gaddafi. You said who? Oh, Colonel Gaddafi, yeah, he was killed by a mob in his own country. But yeah, Noriega, this is very similar to Noriega, I thought. So it says here, speaking in Beijing on January 5, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi accused the United States of behaving like a world judge by seizing Venezuela's leader and putting him on trial in New York. Now, of course, to put someone on trial, if you're accused and you go to court, then we say you are on trial. Now, of course, if you are the one who is accusing someone, you are not on trial. They are on trial. But if you are being accused of a crime, then you are on trial. So they put him on trial. Okay. Now, trial, we say someone is on trial, but we can also say trial just by itself. You can say, when is the trial? When does the trial take place? Or the trial is taking place right now. So that is a word that we use for courts. Okay. Now, a trial can also be a difficulty that you are going through. If you have something that is testing you right now, something that is difficult but is kind of putting you through a test, right? For example, you can say, right now he has many sicknesses causing him many trials, right? Or you can say he is having many trials with his work. It means many difficulties, many things that would test him or put him through some difficulty. We say that is also a trial, okay? So that word trial gets used in different ways. Okay, so here the Chinese accuse the U.S. of behaving like a world judge. Okay? So again, we have these words that are very similar. Judge, trial, these all have to do with courts. Okay? So let's read this. Speaking in Beijing on January 5, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi accused the United States of behaving like a world judge. World judge. By seizing Venezuela's leader and putting him on trial in New York. Okay. It says here, the sovereignty and security of all countries should be fully protected under international law, Wang added. China's foreign ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said at a separate press briefing on January 5 that China was still maintaining positive communication and cooperation with the Venezuelan government. Right. Okay. So, which is interesting because I just saw the news yesterday that Trump said he wants Venezuela to kick out all the Chinese and the Russians and the Cubans. So, yeah. So anyhow, we'll see how long that continues. Okay, so here again, the sovereignty and security of all countries should be fully protected under international law. Okay. Of course, a press briefing is kind of like a 记者会, kind of like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's of course when we say positive communication, it means that positive means 肯定的, right? It means it's happening, it's going forward, it's still happening, yeah, and cooperation. Okay. What's the opposite of positive? Negative, yeah. So these are two words that we use all the time, positive and negative. Why don't we say them together? Positive. Positive. Negative. Negative. Like even your blood type, right? When we talk about blood types, people have like A positive or B negative or whatever. That the plus sign and the negative sign. We use that a lot. Okay, yeah. It brief means short. Yeah. BRIEF, a brief. So I think, originally a briefing would be a short report. But sometimes briefings can be kind of long too. It depends. But yeah, typically brief, if you say, please keep it brief or please be brief, it means be short. Don't take too long. Yeah. Okay. So let's read this. The sovereignty and security of all countries should be fully protected Under international law. Wang added. China's foreign ministry spokesperson Lin Jin said at a separate press briefing on January 5 that China was still maintaining positive communication and cooperation with the Venezuelan government. Okay, maintaining, of course, simply means to keep, right? To continue, right? To maintain. Like we often say maintain means to keep something going, like a building or a car or a motorcycle you need to maintain it, right? You need to fix it, you need to keep it going, you need to, do things that will keep it from breaking. Okay, so we say maintaining something. Okay. Yeah, maintenance, that's an important thing. Okay, so it says here in Moscow, Russia's foreign ministry said Maduro's capture represented an unacceptable encroachment on the sovereignty of an independent state and accused the United States of committing an act of armed aggression. Now, if you don't think this is funny, I think this is hilarious, right? I mean, this is Russia, right? What did Russia do, right? Unacceptable encroachment on the sovereignty of an independent state, committing an act of armed aggression. I mean, what are they thinking, So, this is the funniest paragraph in this whole article. Basically, okay, unacceptable. What does to encroach mean, this word encroach? Okay, encroach means, to violate or to come into something. If you encroach on somebody's territory, it means you're coming into their area, right? You can encroach on, I guess, even someone's privacy, right? If someone has privacy and you encroach on, it means you invade or their privacy. Now, we've talked about the word invade quite a bit, right? To invade. You just said the word violate. Okay. To encroach. These all have similar ideas where you come into something, okay? So why don't we say these words together? To encroach. To encroach. Violate. Invade. Okay. Now, of course, I think you know the word. We've talked about this word many times. Aggression, right? Aggression. If you show aggression, it means you show, how do you say that? It means to show force or... aggression's not always violence. Violence, I guess, although there's different kinds of violence. There's physical violence and there's verbal violence, But yeah, aggression, if you show aggression towards something, or you say someone is aggressive, right? A dog, I think I've said that many times, a dog can be aggressive. Some of my relatives just came back from Africa. They were in Africa for 2 weeks. They went to a country called Tanzania, near Kenya. And they went on a safari. You know what a safari is? Where you go out? Yeah. And they said that they told me about all the animals they saw, right? And there's the one animal they said that looked the most aggressive was, they called a Cape buffalo. It's like, Taiwan has many, what do they call it? Shui niu, right? But Africa has a big buffalo. And it was funny, my nephew said that even from a distance, these buffalo, the way they look at you, he said they want to attack you. They're watching you. Even from a distance, he said they look very aggressive. And he said they're actually very dangerous. You should not get too close to them because they will charge you. So we could say they are very aggressive. Okay. It would be both. You could say it's a double standard. You could say it's hypocritical. We've talked about many times about being hypocritical, right? A hypocrite, or we could say hypocritical. Hypocritical. Yeah. Yeah. And then he said another word here, a double standard. Yeah. So hypocritical, hypocrite is a person. You can say someone has a double standard, right? You can say you have a double standard. Okay, so why don't we say together, hypocrite. Hypocrite. Hypocritical. Hypocritical. Double standard. Double standard. Okay, earlier we said the word encroach, but this is the longer, the 名词 version. We didn't say the whole word. Encroachment. Encroachment. Right. Okay, so let's read this. In Moscow, Russia's foreign ministry said Maduro's capture represented an unacceptable encroachment on the sovereignty of an independent state, and accused the United States of committing an act of armed aggression. Right. Armed, of course, means you have a weapon, right? You can arm yourself with weapons. You know, in America, we have one of our rights, our 权利, is the right to bear arms. Yeah, but I think in the Bill of Rights it actually says, it just says arms. Because arms could be anything. It could be a knife, it could be a sword, but a firearm would be like a gun, so we say the right to bear arms. We've talked about this many times because many people are like wondering why Americans have so many guns, right? And it's because it's actually in our 宪法. Our Constitution says Americans have the right to bear. B-E-A-R, bear means to hold or carry. Arms, A-R-A-M, arms means like weapons, 武器, right? So Americans say, I have the right to bear arms. I can carry weapons. Yeah. Probably, yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I always forget which one is which. But yeah, we have all these amendments, these additions. So yeah, the right to bear arms. And we've talked about this before because some Americans think that right is unlimited, and some Americans think it should be very limited. So yeah, but anyhow. Okay, so here it says, there also was a strong rebuke from Iran, where Trump had also threatened to intervene if Tehran's authorities kill additional protesters who had taken to the streets in recent nationwide demonstrations. Iran called the U.S. operation, which saw Maduro and his wife seized, blindfolded, and sent by ship to New York to face narco-terrorism charges, a flagrant violation of the country's national sovereignty. So we're seeing this word a lot, sovereignty, right? We talk about sovereign countries. Sovereignty means you have control or authority over your own country, okay? So why don't we say it one more time? Sovereignty. Sovereignty. So when we say, of course, to violate, we talk about the violation of a law, right? You can violate a law or violate somebody's privacy. This word gets used a lot with this word. What is flagrant? I don't think we've ever talked about this word. What does flagrant mean? Yeah, blatant or very open, very obvious, okay? So the word that you mentioned, this is a very similar word. We also use this word. We say blatant or flagrant. It means very, very open, okay? So you can say he is blatantly lying to me, or he is blatantly cheating or flagrantly lying. It means it's very obvious, it's very open, it's very clear, okay? So these words blatant, or we could say blatantly as a 副词, or flagrantly, or flagrant, these words often get used with words like lying or cheating or, violations or something like that. We use those words together. I don't know. I never even thought of that, but maybe. I don't think so, but it could be. I've never thought about that. But yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it has to do with flag. But yeah, but blatant and flagrant. So why don't we say this together? Flagrant. Flagrant. And then as a 副词, flagrantly. Flagrantly. And then that word up there, blatant. Blatant. Blatantly. Blatantly. Right, so here it's a flagrant violation of Venezuela's national sovereignty, or we could say a blatant violation of a country's national sovereignty. Okay, so here it says a strong rebuke. Now, we've learned this word before. What is to rebuke somebody? To what? Yeah, it means to basically to show disapproval. We talked earlier about the word condemn, right? It's a little bit similar to the word condemn. When you say somebody is wrong, right? Or you say that somebody has done something wrong, you are rebuking them, right? Sometimes when you're talking, you're saying something and someone says something else and you say, no, I completely disagree with you. That is to rebuke them, right? To say, no, you're wrong, or that I disagree, or that's incorrect. Yes, it's to basically, that's what it means. So why don't we say together, rebuke. Rebuke. Now that word again, this word can be a 名词 or a 动词. So here it's a noun, 名词, right? But you can say, I rebuked him, or he rebuked me, right? Okay? So this can be either way. So there was a strong rebuke from Iran where Trump has threatened to intervene. Of course, we've talked about the word intervene means to get involved, right? To get involved. If Tehran's authorities kill additional protesters who had taken to the streets, of course, they're all out on the streets, in recent nationwide demonstrations, which another word is what? Protest, right? To protest, 抗议, right? A demonstration is it. Now, of course, demonstrate just can mean to show something, right? When you go to a 展览, right, an exhibition, often they are demonstrating different machines or different products. Like I know sometimes you go to the 百货公司 or the supermarket and they're demonstrating some new product. They're showing it, right? But here, this demonstration means protest, 抗议, right? Okay, so, and it says, the U.S. operation which saw Maduro and his wife seized blindfolded, of course blindfold means to cover your eyes, and sent by ship to New York. To ship by, I don't think they were sent by ship. I think they were sent by aircraft. Well, I think there were other reasons for that too, security reasons. But he was only, at that one point, he had those goggles on, and then later on he did not have them on. So I don't know. There could be a security reason for that. There's a word here that we see a lot recently, narco-terrorism. Okay, what does narco refer to? Yeah, so what's the original word for narco? Narcotics. Oops. Okay, equals drugs. Yeah, I think it's only one C, narcotics. Yeah. So narcotics, if someone says illegal narcotics. Now, technically there are legal narcotics, right? There are narcotics you can take that are legal, right? Or the doctor can allow you to take them. But when we think of narcotics, usually it's kind of like illegal drugs, right? So why don't we say together, narcotics? Narcotics. Okay, so when we say narco-terrorism, it means terrorism, 恐怖, that's related to drugs. We see a lot of narco-terrorism in countries like Mexico. Yeah, lots of people killed because drug gangs are shooting each other and fighting each other and killing people and, innocent people and other, So we call that narco-terrorism. Okay, so let's say together, narco-terrorism. Narco-terrorism. Right, okay. Okay, so let's read this together. There also was a strong rebuke from Iran, where Trump had also threatened to intervene if Tehran's authorities kill additional protesters who had taken to the streets in recent nationwide demonstrations. Iran called the U.S. Operation, which saw Maduro and his wife seized, blindfolded, and sent by ship to New York to face narco-terrorism charges. Okay, again, narco-terrorism charges. A flagrant violation, again, a flagrant violation of the country's national sovereignty. Sovereignty. Okay. So it says here, Maduro pleaded not guilty in federal court on January 5 on U.S. drug trafficking charges. Okay. So, when you plead has different meanings. In court, what does plead mean? Well, but you can plead guilty, right? So plead means how do you claim? Yeah, what do you say you are, right? So when the judge says, how do you plead, the judge is asking the accused person, how do you plead? And the person says, I can plead guilty or I can plead not guilty, right? So if you think, no, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything wrong, you say, well, I plead not guilty. But if you say, okay, yeah, I committed a crime, then you plead guilty. Okay, so he pleaded. Now, of course, what's the other meaning for plead? Plead also means to what? To beg, right? So if you beg, this is different from court, right? If you beg, you can plead for someone's help, right? Please help me. Please do this, okay? To beg, okay? So why don't we say together, plead, beg. Okay, so he pleaded not guilty in federal court. Federal court means it's the national court, the 国家, federal court. Okay, on U.S. drug trafficking charges. Now we've talked about the word trafficking. Traffic means to sell and buy, right? Like you can traffic drugs, you can traffic people. So we call that trafficking. Okay, so let's read this together. Maduro pleaded not guilty. One more time. Maduro pleaded not guilty in federal court on January 5 on U.S. drug trafficking charges. Let's say it again. Drug trafficking charges. Okay. Here it says, many Latin American leaders also criticized the operation against Venezuela. We express our deep concern and rejection of the military actions carried out unilaterally in the territory of Venezuela, which contravene fundamental principles of international law. Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Uruguay said in a joint statement, such actions, where are we? Oh, such actions set an extremely dangerous precedent for regional peace and security and for the rules-based international order, in addition to endangering the civilian population. Okay, this is a long paragraph, but let's look at this. It says, first of all, Latin America means what? Central and Southern America, okay. I think generally because, these countries were, or this whole area was colonized by Spain and Portugal, right? Which are considered Latin, their languages, their culture is more of a Latin culture. Of course, which country, all those countries were under Spain's control except for one. Which is the exception? Brazil. Yeah, Brazil was colonized by Portugal. So if you go to Brazil, they speak Portuguese, not Spanish. Okay, so they criticized the operation against Venezuela. We express our deep concern and rejection, okay, it means to reject the military actions carried out unilaterally. Now, we've learned this word before. Unilateral means what? One-sided, by yourself. Now, if there's two sides, we call that what? Bilateral, right? If there's three sides, we call it what? Trilateral. And if it's more than three sides, we call it multilateral. Yeah, M-U-L-T-I, multilateral means many sides. Okay, so unilateral means just one side. There's no two sides, just one side. So why don't we say together, unilateral. Unilateral. Unilaterally. Unilaterally. Okay, so these actions were carried out unilaterally in the territory of Venezuela, which contravene. Now, I know we've talked about this word before. What's another word for contravene? We just mentioned it. Violate, yeah. To violate, to contravene means to break, okay? So why don't we say together, contravene. Contravene. And the Mingzi version of that is contravention. Yeah, contravention. So you could say that is a contravention of international law. It means then it becomes a Mingzi, okay? So why don't we say together, to contravene. To contravene. And then that word, the noun, contravention. Contravention. So they said this contravenes fundamental principles of international law. Now, fundamental, what would be another word for basic? Yeah, basic. So we could say basic principles, like 主义, right? A principle, an idea, principles of international law. According to Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Uruguay, which said in a joint statement, such actions set an extremely dangerous precedent. Okay, you know what the word, we've talked about this word too. Precedent means what? Yeah, we use this word in court a lot because what happens is if you do something for the first time or you do something that others will follow, we call that a precedent, right? So courts use precedent a lot because when a judge is going to make a decision, they will look at other precedents, right? So if someone is accused of a crime, they say, okay, you did this and it's illegal. And then they say, well, no, it's not illegal. But then the judge will say, well, earlier we decided this was illegal in another case. So that case sets, we say to set, S-E-T, sets a precedent for this case, okay? So if something is a precedent, or, sometimes we say unprecedented, it means it's never happened before. Something is unprecedented. If something happens for the very first time, we say, wow, that's unprecedented. That's never happened. We've never seen that before. So to set an extremely dangerous precedent for regional peace, okay, it creates a situation where this could happen again. For regional peace and security, and for the rules-based international order, in addition to endangering. Of course, endanger isn't simply another word for saying what? To put into danger, right? If you endanger somebody, it means you you threaten them. You put them at risk of harm. Okay? Now, we use the word a lot for people, but we also use that word for animals, right? If we say an animal is endangered, they're endangered of what? Yeah, endangered species, but what's the danger? Extinction. Yeah. So, yeah. Extinction means what? Yeah, it means they're gone, right? So, some animals are endangered because they are in danger of becoming extinct. Actually, extinction is we can say, yeah, to be gone, but we can say also to become extinct. Okay, to become extinct means the species no longer exists. It's gone. Okay, why don't we say it together? Extinct. Extinct. Taiwan used to have a clouded leopard, like a yunbao, right? And I think most people say now it's extinct, right? Because nobody has seen it for decades. So we say that species is now extinct, or we could say, or another species might face extinction. So why don't we say it to extinction? Extinction. Right, so we use the word endangered a lot. We talk about an endangered species, right? You know the word species, right? How do we say species in Chinese? Yeah, like we talk about the human species, right? But we also talk about, dogs and cats and, buffalo and many other animals, okay, species. Yeah. I guess, although I think bison it's maybe more accurate to say bison is a kind of buffalo. So yeah, the bison is a type of, because buffalo is a very broad word. There's water buffalo, there's, African Cape buffalo, but bison is a very specific kind of, like you see in America. If you go to Yellowstone National Park, you see, I think so, yeah, they were almost wiped out. They were almost extinct, but then they kind of brought them back. Yeah, he talks about a word. It's a word we don't see outside of the United States. It's specific to the North America. We call it bison. You know what I'm talking about? It's these really big buffalo. They got lots of fur and these little horns, and yeah. Every year I see on YouTube, there's these people, tourists, guang ke, that think it's okay to go up to the buffalo, and it's very dangerous because these buffalo are aggressive, right? So, yeah, why don't we say together bison? Bison. No, I don't even know if that's allowed. Maybe it's illegal. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll have to try it sometime. Yeah, I will say one of the strangest burgers I've ever had. I've tried a camel burger. You know what a camel is, right? When I was in Oman, Amman, in Middle East, I was walking and they had a restaurant that said camel burgers. So I thought, okay, sure, I'll try it. So I tried. It was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. But yeah, because they have many, many camels there, right? So I guess they make burgers out of them too. Yeah, although I feel a little bit 可怜 for the camel, yeah. Yeah, they seem very, yeah. Anyhow, here it says, this precedent, they're saying it sets a bad precedent. It endangers the civilian. Civilian, of course, means non-military, right? So I think all of you we're all civilians, right? We're not in the military. So why don't we say together, civilians? Civilian. This can be a 形容词 or it can be a 名词. You can say we are civilians or I am a civilian, okay? But you could use it here as a 形容词, civilian population, which means 人口, right? Population. So endangers the civilian population. Okay. Okay, so let's read this long paragraph together then. It says, many Latin American leaders, let's say it again, Latin American leaders also criticized the operation operation against Venezuela. We express our deep concern and rejection of the military actions carried out unilaterally in the territory of Venezuela. Which contravene fundamental principles. One more time. Fundamental principles of international law. Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Uruguay said in a joint statement. Such actions set an extremely dangerous precedent for regional peace and security, and for the rules-based international order, in addition to endangering the civilian population. Let's say it again. Endangering the civilian population. Right. You know the word population, right? You can say, what is the population of Taiwan? How many people? So yeah. Okay. The U.S. seizure of Maduro and his wife has raised thorny legal questions about whether it violated international laws that govern the use of force against another country and its leadership. Now, the word here that really stands out to me is this word, thorny. What is a thorn? So, have you ever heard I'm sure you've heard this expression. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's also an expression. Has, I think it's, or we could say, yeah, it's thorns. Okay? So you know roses, right? 玫瑰花, right? They have thorns, right? If you ever pick roses, you have to be careful because it's very sharp. So what does that expression mean? Every rose has its thorns. Yeah. Yeah, so it means that, even when something is very beautiful, there may be something that can hurt you, right? It could be a person. Of course, this often is used for people, right? Somebody might be very attractive, but you have to be careful. There might be something there to hurt you. Okay? Sure, why not? Yeah, actually, it would probably be used more for women because we don't usually call men roses, right? So it's probably more about women. I don't know. I don't know. But anyhow, it's a very common expression. Why don't we say that word thorn? Thorn. Okay, every rose has its thorns. Thorns. Okay, so when we say something is a thorny legal question, what would that kind of mean? Yeah, it means problem, yeah, troublesome. He said the word troublesome. It means it creates trouble. A more problematic also means it creates problems. There is another word sometimes we use instead. We say prickly. Prick is like when you have if you have a needle and you prick your finger, or like a cactus. Cactus, how do you say cactus? Yeah, it's very prickly, right? It has many little needles that can prick your finger. So prickly, we can say this is a very prickly legal problem. This is a very thorny legal problem or legal question. So why don't we say together, thorny, prickly. Okay, so this has raised thorny legal questions about whether it violated international laws or to govern. That govern means, of course, means to control, to control the use of force against another country and its leadership. Let's read these words too. Troublesome. Troublesome. Problematic. Problematic. These are good words because the word trouble and the word problem. If something is creating mafan or difficulty, you could say this is very problematic for me, or this is a really troublesome issue for me, or this is so we can use these words to describe something that's creating extra trouble or problems or difficulties for us. So yeah, those are good words to know. Okay, so let's read this. The U.S. seizure of Maduro and his wife has raised thorny legal questions. Again, thorny legal questions about whether it violated international laws that govern the use of force against another country and its leadership. Okay. We have a saying, we say, might makes right. Might means power, right? Might makes right. Means if you have the power to do something, yeah. So it says here, still there also was what appeared to be strong backing for the operation. Argentinian President Javier Milei, a close ally of Trump, wrote on social media that freedom moves forward and long live freedom. And in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated Trump for what he described as his bold and historic leadership on behalf of freedom and justice. Okay, when we say on behalf of, what does that mean? It means represent. So if this word often gets used when you 代表 someone, right? What's that word? I always see this word in Taiwan. They always say 委托, right? On behalf of something, right? So if someone says, I need you to sign your name or I need you to do this, and you say, well, I can't be there, I'm gone. Well, who can represent you? So you can say, oh, he is going to do this on behalf of me. Means he is going to represent me. So we say on behalf of, this is a word I often use in polite language. Let's say, like 台中美国商会. Let's say I am representing 美国商会, and I am speaking to somebody. I might say, on behalf of AmCham Taichung, I would like to thank you for what you've done. Means I am representing AmCham Taichung, and on their behalf, I'm thanking you. I'm going to 感谢你, right? So it's this word on behalf of often is used. Like on behalf of my family, I would like to thank you, right? This is a very very polite expression. So this word on behalf of means to represent something, okay? On behalf of freedom and justice. Okay, let's say it again. On behalf of. On behalf of. Okay. So let's read this. Still there also was what appeared to be strong backing for the operation. Argentinian President Okay, now this is pronounced with an H, Javier. Okay, Javier Milei. Let's say again, Javier Milei, a close ally of Trump, wrote on social media that freedom moves forward and long live freedom. And in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated Trump for what he described as his bold and historic leadership on behalf of freedom and justice. Let's say it again. Let's put this with that. On behalf of freedom and justice. Okay. I want to say historic means to it means to create history, to make history, right? But it's interesting. There's another word that's almost the same. But if we say something is historical, this word is similar, but often these two words get used in the same way. But historical is more the idea that it is something from history. Yeah, it's regarding history. So, for example, if we say, if you go to the Taichung railway station, 火车站, we could say this is a historical building, right? It has a lot of history. But if you do something that is historic, it means to create or make history, right? It's going to... So, I think many people, they mix up these two words. They get used the same way. But I think historic is more about creating history. It's something that people will remember. And historical is something that is actually from history. It's from something that already happened, okay? So why don't we say it together? Historic. Historic. Historical. Historical. Okay, so yeah. Well, he would be a historical. I guess you could say his actions were historic because it created history, made history. But he is now, today, when we look at him, he is a historical leader. Yeah, because of, his actions. Well, he was very famous. So he says, I salute your decisive resolve and brilliant action of your brave soldiers, Netanyahu said. Okay? So what does salute mean? Yeah. So if you say, but also, of course, to salute is this, but when you say here, of course, he's not actually saluting him. What does that mean? It means I recognize, I praise, 赞美. Like if you salute somebody for their actions, you say, I'm going to praise you. I'm going to salute you for a job well done. You've done a great job on this. I salute you for all that you've done. It means I praise you. Okay, so why don't we say together, salute. Salute. Okay, now decisive resolve. What is that? Okay, resolve, if you have a lot of resolve, what does that mean? Yeah, yeah, that's a good word. Determination. Yeah, we say resolutions. Okay. Every year people make, I don't know, did any of you make New Year's resolutions? Most people say, 算了, I'm not going to do it because I never fulfill I never do it, right? So many people say, forget New Year's resolutions. But yeah, New Year's resolution, when you have a resolution, this is a 名词, right? A New Year's resolution is when you have resolve, you say, I will do something, right? I am determined to do something. So every year, many people make New Year's resolutions. They say, okay, next year I'm going to lose 10 kilograms. Next year I'm going to exercise every day. Next year I'm going to, make more money. I don't know. There's many New Year's resolutions. So to resolve means to show determination, to have determination. Okay. So decisive, of course, means it's very strong. Some people we say we like decisive leaders. It means they can make decisions. They're not 随便. They just, if you are decisive, you say, I will do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. And you take action. So why don't we say together, decisive. Decisive. Resolve. Resolve. Resolution. Resolution. Now, resolve also means to fix a problem, right? If you resolve a disagreement, resolve an argument, resolve a problem, it means to 解决, right? Okay, so we can also use it that way. Okay, it says brilliant. Of course, brilliant means amazing, great, right? Brilliant means bright, right? Like that, we could say the lights are very brilliant. But if we say someone is brilliant, we means they're very smart. But if we say that is a brilliant action or this is a brilliant thing, it also means it's great, it's amazing. Okay, so that word brilliant gets used a lot. I know in England, in Britain, they like to use the word brilliant if they like something. If they say, oh, that's brilliant, it means I like it. That's awesome. It's great. Yeah. Americans don't say that as much, but, we know what brilliant means. So why don't we say it together? Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, like a light. We could say the light is very brilliant, or the sun is brilliant, right? But if you say your son is brilliant, it means your son is super smart, right? Very intelligent. Okay. So, yeah, the brilliant action of your brave soldiers. Okay, so let's read this. I salute your decisive resolve. I salute your decisive resolve. Decisive resolve. Decisive resolve. And the brilliant action of your brave soldiers. Netanyahu said. Right. Yeah, when I think of this kind of military operation, this is the kind of thing the Israelis are good at. Their military is very good at this kind of special operation. So anyhow, it says European leaders seem to avoid committing themselves to one side or another and use more ambiguous language. I want to establish the facts first. I want to speak to President Trump. I want to speak to allies. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said in a statement, I always say and believe we should all uphold international law. Okay, so it says here, okay, so there's a good word here. European leaders seem to avoid committing them. Of course, you commit yourself means you say this or that, right? I say, I will do this, or I agree or I disagree. They avoided committing themselves to one side or another and use more ambiguous. Now, this is a great word. What does ambiguous mean? Not clear. Okay? So the word comes from another word. It's ambiguity as a 名词. Yes. So ambiguity means, who knows? 谁知道, right? Yeah, so this is a good word. If someone is very ambiguous, like if I say, maybe you ask somebody, what do you think about this? And they say, well, it could be good or maybe not so good or I don't know. Then you say your answer is very ambiguous, right? I don't know what you mean. Okay, so why don't we say together ambiguous. Ambiguous. And then the other word, ambiguity. Ambiguity. Okay, so here he says, I want to establish the facts first. When you say to establish the facts first, means I want to really know what the truth is, what's going on first. I want to speak to Donald Trump. I want to speak to allies. Okay, so anyhow, let's read this together. European leaders seemed to avoid committing themselves to one side or another and use more ambiguous language. Let's say it again. Ambiguous language. I want to establish the facts first. Let's say it again. Establish the facts first. I want to speak to President Trump. I want to speak to allies. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said in a statement, I always say and believe we should all uphold international law. Uphold international law. Right, I think we've said this many times, but uphold means to follow, right? To enforce, to follow, to support. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't actually, I know the word, I mean, I've heard the word, but I forget what it means. Yeah, but that's not a very, it's not, I don't know. I know the word we use a lot is this word, wishy-washy. Oops. That's a hyphen. Have you heard the word wishy-washy? W-I-S-H-Y, W-A-S-H-Y. To be honest, I'm not sure if that, sometimes I think those words, it can be one word, or they can be a hyphen in the middle. But we say, if someone is very wishy-washy, it means they don't have a strong opinion about something. You know, sometimes people say, you know, I have a lot of Taiwanese friends that like to use the word so-so, right? How do you feel about it? I feel so-so about this. Okay, wishy-washy just means that you cannot commit to anything, you know? You ask somebody, say, do you like it or not? And they say, well, I don't really know. You say, stop being wishy-washy, right? Make a decision. Tell me what you think. So why don't we say together, wishy-washy. Wishy-washy. Yeah, it's a funny word, but we get used a lot. Yeah. So here it says, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said the legal assessment of the U.S. operation was complex, and we will take our time to evaluate it. A transition to a government legitimized by elections must be ensured, he said. Okay, so assessment means like, what's another word for assessment? Evaluate. I think evaluation is a good word. To evaluate, evaluation. That's a U-A. E-V-A-U-L-U-A-T-I-O-N. Evaluate or evaluation. Why don't we say together, assessment. Assessment. To assess. To assess. Evaluation. Evaluation. To evaluate. To evaluate. When you take a 考试, a test, it is assessing your knowledge, or it is evaluating your knowledge, right? It's trying to help the teacher know how much you know or not. Okay, so we say an assessment of the U.S. operation was complicated or complex, and we will take, and here's the word, evaluate. So these two words are very similar, to evaluate it. A transition means a changeover, right? A changeover to a government legitimized by elections must be ensured. Now, if something is legitimized, it means to make legitimate. What's the good, how do we say legitimate in Chinese? Yeah, well, 合法 or proper, you know, legal, right? Legitimate. We say L-G-I-T-I-M-A-A-T-E, legitimate, right? If something is legitimate, it is correct, it is right, it is legal, okay? So here it turns into a 动词, right? Legitimize means to make legitimate. Let me just write that word down. Legitimate. Legitimate. Okay, so why don't we say it together? Legitimate. Legitimate. Legitimize. Legitimize. Right. So the transition to a government legitimized by what? By elections must be ensured. It means we must have a legitimate government from elections. Okay. Let's read this. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said the legal assessment of the U.S. operation was complex, and we will take our time to evaluate it. A transition to a government legitimized by elections must be ensured, he said. Okay. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, writing on the social media platform X, said that his country did not recognize the Maduro regime, but neither will it recognize an intervention that violates international law and pushes the region toward a horizon of uncertainty and belligerence. Okay, we've talked about this before. A regime is what? It's usually a non-democratic government. So, people talk about the Russian regime or the Chinese regime or the Cuban regime. It's not an elected leader, okay, usually. So this word, it's a French word. So this word here, G, is pronounced with a zh sound, okay? So why don't we say together, regime. Regime. Okay, so they're saying they did not recognize the Maduro regime, but neither will it, okay, so it means we won't either recognize an intervention, of course this is the U.S. intervention, that violates international law and pushes the region, that means the Latin American region, toward a horizon. Okay, now this is a good word. What is a horizon? How do you say horizon in Chinese? Yeah, it's like out on the horizon, right? What's out on the horizon? I remember when I was in Hualien growing up, and you always look out over the ocean, you could see the horizon, that line on the. So, but here, when we say why don't we say together horizon? Horizon. It says a horizon of uncertainty and belligerence. Okay, so I think the way they use this word here, it really refers to a future, right? Yeah, because when you look at the horizon, it's like way out there. It's coming. It's not coming, but it's the future, right? In a way. So I think it means like a future of uncertainty and belligerence. Now, the word belligerence comes from the word belligerent with a T, E-N-T. Belligerent means what? Yeah, it means. Yeah, you mean animosity. Yeah, it means likes to fight, likes to argue. Not necessarily fight, but argue. If someone's very belligerent, it means they're always, we say, picking fights with other people, right? They like to create disagreements. They like to create fights. They like to create arguments. So you could say he is a very belligerent person. It means he likes to, every time you see him, it's like he wants to fight you, kind of aggressive, So why don't we say together belligerent? Belligerent. And then this is a 形容, this is a 名词. Belligerence. Belligerence. Okay. So let's read this. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, writing on the social media platform X, said that his country did not recognize the Maduro regime. Again, Maduro regime. But neither will it recognize an intervention that violates international law and pushes the region toward. Let's say it again. Pushes the region toward a horizon of uncertainty and belligerence. Right, okay. So yeah, it's interesting that, the reactions or responses to this. But, I don't know, at the end of the day, I think the one reaction that I pay a lot of attention to is the Venezuelan people. I don't know if you've seen those videos, but most of them are very, very, very happy, right? It's funny because, in America there have been some protests against Donald Trump and this action, right? And I've seen YouTube videos where the Venezuelans are like, they're telling the protesters, they're telling them, shut up, stop protesting, we support this, we've been waiting for 26 years to get rid of this guy, So they're very happy about, most of them are very happy about it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. This is obviously a very, very controversial action. He was, the last election in 2024, most international observers and a lot of local people in Venezuela said that his opposition won the election by a large margin. But then he said, the election is, it doesn't count, right? So he stayed in power. And so that's why you had all those, the Nobel Peace Prize winner is a Venezuelan woman who is against Maduro. And so, so basically, that's why the Spanish government, like they said, we don't recognize the Maduro regime. So I think that this is one of those things where they say Maduro stole the election. And I think that, if you look at what he did, the person that came before him was a guy named Chavez, Hugo Chavez. And Chavez was the one who took power, and then Chavez died. He had cancer or something. And then Maduro took over. I think Maduro was his vice president or something like that. And so, since then, the government has destroyed the economy. They said that Venezuela has lost 75% of its economy under Maduro and Chavez, and 8 million, I think 1/3, 8 million Venezuelans have fled the country. They've left. They've gone to the United States or other places to get away from this government. Yeah. So I think that it's a very obviously a lot of Venezuelans are very happy about what happened, and even though I know it's very controversial, of course. Yeah, a lot of people, see this. Well, actually, this next article, we'll just look at this because it's related to this. Oops. Let me see here. Wait a minute. That's not right. Let me go back to this. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this technology. Does anyone have any questions about anything while I'm trying to figure this out? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right, right. Or other, yeah, other. Yeah, a lot of people say that this is a return to the Monroe Doctrine. So, wait a minute. This is the article I was just looking at. Yeah, so does everybody know what the Monroe Doctrine is? It means basically Latin America is our backyard, okay? So let me just write this for you, because I know that in Taiwan, the international media is talking a lot about this, okay? So, first of all, who is Monroe? He's a former U.S. president from almost 200 years ago, yeah. So, Monroe Doctrine, yeah, doctrine is a word like you said, 主义, right? It's a lot like the word principle, okay? Okay, Monroe Doctrine says that that hemisphere, okay, this is another word, big word. What do you say? Hemisphere is what? You say 半球. Yeah. So why don't we say together, hemisphere. Hemisphere. Does everybody know what sphere is? Like a globe, like a 地球, right? It's like a ball, a sphere, a round object. Okay. So it means the Monroe Doctrine says that the American hemisphere, the other outside countries are not welcome to come in and interfere in the hemisphere, in that hemisphere. Now, of course, it's not to say that other countries can't have some presence there. Of course, they can't. It means they can do business. I mean, if you look at the American hemisphere, even today, England, Great Britain and France and the Netherlands all have islands there. They still have islands in the Caribbean Ocean. But it basically says America is this is our backyard, and you should not intervene or interfere with our business. What goes on in Central Southern America is primarily our business, and not, and like you said, this was originally meant for European countries. Like 200 years ago, it was a warning to countries like England or Great Britain or France or other countries that wanted to interfere with Latin American business. And they're like, basically it was America's way of saying, stay out of our business. This is our business. So it's called the Monroe Doctrine. So a lot of people said that Trump is reviving the Monroe Doctrine. He's bringing it back, this idea. It's very interesting. If you listen to what Rubio, the 美国国务院 said the other day, he said, we're not going to stand here and allow other countries to use Venezuela to attack us. He mentioned Russia, Cuba, China, and also some terrorist groups. He said, we're not going to allow them to come in and use Cuba as a way to attack us and to threaten us. That's not allowed. So we're going to get rid of that. That's it. And so it was a very strong statement to say that's just, yeah, if you're going to do that, we won't accept it. And I think when you look at Venezuela and what Venezuela was doing under Maduro for the last many years, he was building up military, he was inviting the Russians and the Chinese and the Cubans. Most of his security was from Cuba. And the U.S. looked at that and they said, that's just not acceptable. And of course, whether it's really, this is obviously it's going to go to court now, but they're saying on top of that, the other big threat was the American government felt that Venezuela was being used for narco-terrorism. Remember, we just learned that new word, narco-terrorism, using Venezuela as a source of drugs or to send drugs to America. And you've noticed that under the Trump administration, drugs are a big deal for him. Not just for Venezuela, but also China. China makes fentanyl, right? This, I don't know, how do you say fentanyl in China? Yeah, fentanyl. The number of Americans that have died from fentanyl is crazy. Like tens of thousands of Americans have died, over the last several years just from fentanyl. And so this is why the U.S. government's putting all this pressure on China not to sell the chemicals that are used to make fentanyl to export them to the United States and other countries nearby. So yeah, the Donald Trump is basically, their Trump government has basically declared war on drugs, to say we have to stop this because it's killing too many Americans. So, that's another reason they're saying, well, we need to we need to take Maduro in. So it's funny because the United States is treating this like a criminal arrest. Like you said, apprehension, right? It's like they didn't invade Venezuela. It's not like the U.S. has soldiers in Venezuela right now. They went in and they got one person, well, two people, him and his wife, and they pulled him out and they arrested him. They sent him to court. So that's their mindset. It's very interesting because they didn't even replace the vice president. They kept they said, well, the vice president, she's now the president. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I see he's talking about Greenland again. Yeah. But now it's funny because Donald Trump was talking and now the spokesperson, the people below him are saying the US wants to buy Greenland. They want to buy it. Of course, Denmark's like, well, we don't really want to sell it, but the U.S. is like, we want to buy this territory. I really feel like Donald Trump wants to do something that will last for a long time. So if someday, like historic, he wants to do something historic, right? So if someday we look at a map and we say Greenland, that became part of the United States under Donald Trump, I think he can say, well, that's something I did that will... just like when America got Alaska, right? We bought it from Russia, or we bought the whole Louisiana territory from France, right? That's really almost over doubled the size of our country. That happened under Thomas Jefferson. And Alaska, I think it was McKinley. I think it was President McKinley bought Alaska from, And so I think he looks at history and he thinks, someday when people look at my administration, they'll say, Greenland, that's when Greenland became part of America. So I think that's his thinking. Maybe, yeah. No, I don't think we really want Canada. But anyhow, I think right now he's talking to get a reaction. Whenever Donald Trump talks, he's doing it for a purpose. There's a reason for what he says. And I think with the Greenland thing, I think he's just putting pressure on Denmark to say, okay, Svanla, we'll sell it to you, The other reason the U.S. wants Greenland is there's two other reasons. One is its location is very strategic. And number two is it has a lot of rare earths, minerals and rare earths. And he says that they're allowing the Chinese and the Russians to invest in Greenland. And he hates that. Just like Venezuela, he says the Chinese and the Russians shouldn't be there. They should be gone. So, if they're going to be investing in minerals and rare earths in our back, near the United States and Greenland, we want to take that over. We want to control the security. Now, the U.S. already has bases, military bases in Greenland for a very long time, since World War II. But I think now he's like, that's not good enough. We want Greenland. So, I don't know if Greenland would become a state or what. I don't know what it would be. It's a big place. Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly look at this before we end today. It says, U.S. action in Panama offers clues to outcome in Venezuela. Now, we talked about this at the beginning today. Panama, is a very well-known country because of the Panama Canal. Okay, so here it says, Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega was captured by U.S. forces on January 3, 1990. He died in 2017 while still a prisoner in Panama. Gunfire in the streets of a Latin American capital, U.S. military troops swooping in by helicopter, a foreign leader accused of drug trafficking hauled off to America in handcuffs. Okay, first of all, what is a dictator? What is it? 独裁者, right? 独裁者. Okay, that's a word I've learned. So why don't we say it together? Dictator. Dictator. Okay, let's say this word too. Panamanian. Panamanian. Okay, gunfire, of course, means shooting in the streets of a Latin American capital, 首都. U.S. military troops swooping in by helicopter. What does to swoop mean? Like an eagle. So when you think of a 老鹰, or a large bird, when the way it flies through the sky, we call it swoops, right? It kind of like glides, like Glides, to glide or swoop. But when I think of swoop, I think of a large bird, like an eagle or a hawk, okay? Yeah, so, this kind of idea. So we can use this word for airplanes, for birds, large birds, and things like that. But you can also use this word for things that are not in the air. For example, if you can say, the police swooped in on the criminals. The police, it could be on the ground, right? It could still be on the ground, but it means to come in very suddenly, to come in and capture something. So the image in my mind is, when hawks and eagles, when they hunt, they hunt animals, like, you see an eagle and there's a rabbit, or a mouse, and the eagle swoops in and grabs the mouse, right? To come in really suddenly and grab something. So when we say to swoop in, it can also be on the ground, like a police officer. The police can swoop in and capture, arrest a criminal, or a suspect. So why don't we say together, swoop, swoop, swooping. Okay, so here it says swooping in by helicopter. A foreign leader accused of drug trafficking hauled off. Hauled means to carry, right? To haul off, H-A-U-L, hauled off to America in handcuffs. What are handcuffs? Yeah, handcuffs. Okay, so yeah. Why don't we say together, hauled off. Hauled off. Handcuffs. Handcuffs. In America, there's a very, very well-known company called, it's called U-Haul. And this company rents trucks that you drive. They don't drive it, but if, let's say I want to 搬家 and I need a 卡车 or a van, they have many different kinds of trucks, and you rent the truck and you drive it. They don't drive it, but you drive it, and you can haul your stuff. People drive U-Hauls, like if they want to move from New York to California. You can drive your U-Haul truck across the country, and then you drop the truck off over there. It's a national company, but it's funny because it says U-Haul because you haul it, right? They don't haul it, you haul it. So it's, yeah. Oh, you did? So that was how many days? Right. Oh, so you stopped in many places. Oh, okay. Was it a big truck? A small one. Okay. Yeah, they have big ones, small ones, many kinds of trucks. But it's a very, very popular company because it's 很方便, right? So yeah. So they call that U-Haul. Okay, so hauled off to America in handcuffs. Okay, so let's read this. Panamanian, sorry. Sorry. No, here we are. Okay. Panamanian dictator. Let's say it again. Panamanian dictator. Manuel Noriega was captured by U.S. forces on January 3, 1990. He died in 2017 while still a prisoner in Panama. Okay. Gunfire in the streets of a Latin American capital U.S. military troops swooping in by helicopter. A foreign leader accused of drug trafficking hauled off to America in handcuffs. Okay. The Trump administration's capture of President Nicolas Maduro on January 3 bore some familiar echoes to the 1989 invasion of Panama that ousted military strongman Manuel Noriega, this shouldn't be here, and marked the most direct U.S. intervention in Latin America since. Okay, so here we have the Trump administration's capture. There's that word capture. Bore some familiar echoes. First of all, what's an echo? How do you say it in Chinese? What is it? Yeah. So echo, but here what does echo mean? It means it's, what would be another word for echo? Similarity or reminder or, yeah. So if something, we say an echo of history, right? It means something that reminds you of something that happened or similar to something that happened. Similarities, okay? So it could be a reminder or similarity to a 1989 invention. Okay, so we say bore means to bear or have some familiar echoes. Why don't we say the word together? Echoes. Echoes. Okay, so the 1989 invasion of Panama that ousted. We've talked about this word before. Oust means what? It means kick out. Now you think of the word out, right? But oust means to kick out. It's a 动词, right? To oust somebody. Okay? To kick out military strongman. Now this is interesting because strongman is another word we use often for dictators. You know, 独裁者. We say a strong man, someone who has a lot of power. You know, it's very funny though. I've never heard someone say strong woman. It's always strong man. So yeah, I guess if there was a female dictator, we could say a strong woman. But I often see the word strong man. Okay, so why don't we say together, strong man. Strong man. Strong man. It doesn't mean that he was actually physically strong. It doesn't mean he was very muscular. It means he had a lot of power. Okay, and mark the most direct U.S. intervention, means to intervene. We talked about that word, intervene, in Latin America since. Okay, let's read this. The Trump administration's capture of President Nicolas Maduro on January 3 bore some familiar echoes. Let's say again, familiar echoes to the 1989 invasion of Panama that ousted military strongman Manuel Noriega and marked the most direct U.S. intervention in Latin America since. Means since then, since that time. So we just say since. But experts say that despite some similarities the two key moments in America's long and checkered history of, sorry, this should be together, of interventions differ in major ways that could make achieving U.S. goals more challenging this time after a raid that has revived regional anxiety. Now, this is a great word. We've talked about it. What is anxiety? Yeah, worry. Yeah, if you say, what would be the 形容词 of this word? Anxious, right? So often people will feel anxious about many different things. Anxious about their job, anxious about their families, anxious about their health. Okay, so you say, I feel anxiety. Okay, so why don't we say together, remember this is pronounced as a Z. So why don't we say anxiety? Anxiety. Now this has a sh sound to it. Anxious. Anxious. Okay, so here it says, experts say that despite some similarities, means similarities between Panama and Venezuela, the two key moments in America's long and checkered history of interventions. Okay, now this is an interesting word. Checkered, okay? First of all, what does checker refer to? A game. And how do you say that game in Chinese? Yeah, it's not like xiangqi, but the board is the same, right? It's a chessboard, but when I was a kid, I loved playing checkers, okay? So when we say something is checkered, what does that mean? It means, it's very similar to that word we talked about earlier where we say it's mixed. It's mixed. Because when we look at a checkerboard, what do we have? It's black and red, black and red, black and red, right? There's two colors and there's a mix of those colors. It means it's this and this and this and this and this. It's mixed, right? So when we say something is checkered, it means that there could be good and bad. It's mixed. It's not clear. It's like the word mixed. We talked about mixed earlier. Does everybody understand that? Yeah, a pattern. You know, if we say he's wearing a checkered shirt, it means the shirt has, it doesn't necessarily have to look like a checkerboard, but it has those squares, you know, like the checkers, the squares, you know, like the pattern is the squares. We call it a checkered shirt or checkered pattern, okay, on your shirt. Okay, so when we say a checkered history, it means the history is very mixed, a very mixed history of intervention, okay? And it says it differs in many ways. The way these two differ or are different could make achieving U.S. goals more challenging in this time after raid that has revived. Revived, of course, means to bring back to life. It has brought back regional anxiety or worry. Okay? So let's read this. It says, but experts say that despite some similarities, the two key moments in America's long and checkered history. Let's say it again. Long and checkered history of interventions differ in major ways that could make achieving U.S. goals. Okay, it's again, achieving U.S. goals more challenging this time after a raid that has revived regional anxiety. Anxiety. Okay. Yeah. This is, USA Today. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you look at the articles we're reading today, they're very often very critical of, or they express a lot of criticism of what Donald Trump did. So yeah, it's like, I mean, if this was China, they'd all be like, great, wonderful, praise to Xi Jinping, I don't know. but yeah, this is almost the opposite. Yeah. So it says here, President Donald Trump said January 3 that his administration will run the country for a time and described an apparent nation-building effort. He said it would be funded by Venezuela's vast oil reserves to be tapped by American oil companies, some of which were forced out in the 2000s. So that's very interesting because he's upset about this. You know, in the 2000s and I think even earlier, Venezuela nationalized the oil industry. Now, I don't know if you know what nationalize means. Yeah, we say to nationalize. So if you nationalize something, it means, okay, all of this belongs to us now. Get out. So they nationalized the oil industry and drove out most of the U.S. companies. I heard there's only one U.S. company still there, Chevron. But anyhow, all the other U.S. companies, oil companies, had to go. And as a result, Venezuela's oil, their technology and their oil, it all went downhill because they don't have the latest technology to pump oil. But anyhow, yeah, that's what they're talking about. So, yeah. So anyhow, we talk about nation building, right? Nation building means we come in and we try to build rebuild the nation, okay? It would be funded by Venezuela's vast oil reserve. Now, vast means what? Huge, great, right? It can mean a very wide area, but it can also mean huge or big. V-A-S-T, vast, right? Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. So it's it should be a very rich country, actually. But it's actually one of the poorest countries in Latin America now. Okay, so let's read this and then we'll be done. This is our last paragraph. President Donald Trump said January 3rd, that his administration will run the country for a time and described an apparent nation-building effort. He said it would be funded by Venezuela's vast oil reserves. Let's say it again, vast oil reserves to be tapped by American oil companies, some of which were forced out in the 2000s. Now, the word tap, of course, is, when you tap something like oil, or you tap a well, like a water for water, it means you bring it up, right? Just like a water tap, in your house you have a tap for your water, your 水龙头, right? We say a tap. So to tap something as a 动词 means to go and bring it up, like water or oil or whatever, you're tapping it, okay? So yeah, so anyhow, hopefully Venezuela can get back to their good economy and all that. It was very interesting. I saw on the Taiwan news, the local news, they were showing last night in Iran, there are people waving signs that have a picture of Donald Trump, and they say, "Donald Trump, we're waiting for you. Come and kick out our leader," right? So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there. But yeah, so yeah, we'll see. Okay, well, anyhow, good to see you all, and we'll see you on February 5, I think, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.